And that is why we'd like to greet all our wonderful friends out there all over the world. And no matter where you are watching or listening from, just remember that this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. And I'm so glad to be in studio with the Malungi Miende on the Brunch to Lunch. And we've been doing this for some time now. And the beautiful part about it is that there are so many awesome testimonies that have come through in regard to how this program has helped them. And maybe this program has helped you in some way. Why don't you connect with Malungi Miende via her Facebook or her Instagram, or just call the studio. Or you can get me on Facebook or Instagram. And yes, the handle is still Roger Lanka or Dr. Roger Lanka. And yes, we'd like to really communicate with you via our social networks and find out really what God is doing in your part of the world and how this program is helping your marriage. So I really want to, assist somebody out there in a manner that will bring you into a better place, not only in your marriage, but with God as well. And so, it's about that. A threefold cord is not easily broken. And what it simply mean by that is, or the way that we would interpret it is, God, you, and your husband or your wife. And that makes three. Right? And three is not a crowd when you got God in the mix. So a very good morning to each and every one of you. Malungi, it's Valentine's on Friday.
I even forgot.
Well, listen, I don't know, but some people celebrate it, some people don't celebrate it. Whatever your conviction is in regard to Valentine's, can I rather just encourage you to celebrate love? And love can be celebrated every day of the week, every hour, every minute. But maybe you want to take this Friday as some special occasion to celebrate it in style. And so whatever you are planning, I want to talk a little bit in regard to how to keep your love alive, and also to give you a few tips in regard to Valentine's Day. Now, Malungi, we were doing the program on andropause, and we were supposed to do andropause 2 today.
Right.
And of course, we're going to give the men a break a little, just in order to help them plan their love weekend a little bit better. So I hope you got a pen and a page, and we're going to do some stuff that's going to be quite exciting in the studio as well. So get ready and call your guy and call your girl and tell them, hey love, listen, would you tune in to 101.5 FM, and we're going to be learning a few things about how to plan our Valentine's Day. So before we get into that, Malungi, I would like to give us about 20 ways how to keep love alive. They say there's 50 ways to leave your lover. It was Paul Simon, from Simon and Garfunkel fame, that sang that song, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. And I think there's 100 ways to skin a cat as well. But whatever it is, I'd like for you to remember the 20 ways to keep your love alive.
Right.
So here goes. I think the first one, and which I've mentioned before on the program, which I think will do you a whole lot of good to remember it and write it down somewhere. You take AA, and I'm not talking Alcohol Anonymous. I'm talking about the AA, the roadside assistance guys.
Right.
And you wouldn't want to leave your home without some security that if you were to break down somewhere, you will have the roadside assistance to come and pick you up and fix up your vehicle. Well, in the marriage vehicle, the car, communication, appreciation, respect, sometimes that breaks down. And when that breaks down, I'd like to know that you have an AA for your marriage, and it's called an attitude of appreciation. You see, if you constantly have an attitude of appreciation, no matter what the difficulties might be, no matter how difficult your situation could be, how much the breakdown, if you have an attitude of appreciation, you will be able to look at the positives of life. And maybe added to the AA of marriage,
Right.
I'd like to add the marriage bank account. Now, whenever you open up or you sign on for the AA of marriage, the appreciation or the attitude of appreciation, you're actually depositing into your marriage bank account. And the marriage bank account is something that will pay you back in the days to come, when the days are dark and friends are few and everybody's turning against you. That's the time you'll need to look into your marriage bank account. Now, if you have not been making sufficient deposits into your bank account, then don't expect it to pay you back. And the marriage bank account will work very much like all of our major banks do. Excuse me. And of course, they don't give you anything for free. As they say, there is no free lunch. All right, somebody pays for it. Okay, so how about opening up or signing in for the AA of marriage? Number one, the attitude of appreciation. And when you have the attitude of appreciation, it'll be, every day will be Valentine's Day for you, because nothing opens up the heart of a person more than appreciation. When you feel appreciated, you want to reciprocate.
Right.
And you reciprocate by action. So you reciprocate by kind and so many other forms, by cash as well in some cases, and you'll be the lucky one, so you get to take the bank card and go shopping sometimes. And I'm hoping that ladies, that you have deposited enough into your marriage bank account, and that you have the attitude of appreciation, so that your man can very easily whip out the credit card or the bank card and give it to you, and you can go and do a whole lot of shopping for Valentine's Day. So, number one, AA of marriage, Malungi. So I hope Pascal, the French man, as pulling out his credit cards for you this weekend. Number two, she paid me to do that, Pascal. Number two, forgiveness. Yes, if you want a beautiful marriage life, if you want to keep love alive, you need to have forgiveness. And forgiveness is a decision. Healing is a process. So forgiveness is a decision and healing is a process. I was driving through to the studio this morning, and I heard Pastor Anita Ramdani speaking on forgiveness. And I've seen so many other pastors out there, and that are speaking on forgiveness. And I don't think we can emphasize this any more, that unforgiveness is the doorway for demonic attack. And unforgiveness will bring in a whole lot of sicknesses. Bitterness causes the bones to rot, as the Bible says, and that is cancer of the bone. And so I want to encourage you today. You want to keep your love alive, learn to forgive quickly. Learn to let go quickly. Some people hold on to grudges for such a long period of time, and you are only making yourself sicker in the process. So encouragement to you today, why don't you let go and let God? Come on, forgiveness is an important factor. And if you learn to forgive, well, it actually releases you of all of the pain of having to carry that tension and stress. Now, I'm going to be doing a program on the effects of stress, especially piggybacking off the Andropause program. So the men really want to stay connected to this. Malungi, women handle stress better than men.
You think so?
Yes, and I'm going to be proving that to you guys and show you how men are constantly, or can constantly be in a fight or flight mode. And it's part of our nature to fight and protect. And because of that, the cortisol levels are always fluctuating, and too much is too bad, too little is still too bad. So, forgiveness then raises up the cortisol levels, because the cortisol is actually the stress hormone, and it helps you to fight off the stress. And if your cortisol is too high, and if you're constantly in a mode of unforgiveness, constantly replaying all of this, it's going to be a big problem for you in a health perspective. Right, let's move on. Number 3, fight the feelings of anger and resentment. fight the feelings of anger and resentment. In other words, take charge of your own emotions. You know, we always blaming somebody else. Everybody feels justified for the action. You can't stop somebody else's behavior, or may not be able to stop someone else's behavior, but you most certainly can control your own emotions, how you respond to someone else's bad behavior. All right, so don't let somebody else's bad behavior ruin your life, ruin your joy, ruin your peace. And learn to guard your peace, learn to guard your joy. Somebody said that, nobody can take your joy away from you except you give it away. And the joy of the Lord is your strength.
Yes.
And I've learned to confess that. I wake up in the morning, I go to bed at night, and it is on my mind. And I say to myself, the joy of the Lord is my strength. I am more than a conqueror. I am more than sufficiently supplied by an all-sufficient God. And these are the things that give me the joy and the peace to know that God is with me. He will never leave me, nor will He ever forsake me. So, with that, I'm able to deal with my own emotions. And Malungi, this don't come easy. You're going to have to learn how to do this. You're going to have to learn how to control it. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to be probably the perpetrator. You're going to be the villain at times. And, you learn from that. Okay, so it's easy to think that, oh, I feel so self-righteous knowing that everybody else is angry and resentful. But often we do that ourselves. And, it takes two to tango. And, there's going to be fire somewhere where you're going to see smoke together, and smoke and fire goes together. And it was only I think the group Bad Company that sang the song Smoke on the Waters. So something is smoking, there's a fire somewhere. And you know what, learn to fight the fire in your own bosom. All right, and so take charge of that fire.
That's so powerful, though.
Thank you, Malungi.
And not playing the blame game.
That's the key here. That's the key.
Right.
Take charge of your own emotions. You're going to blame your husband. You're going to blame your wife. You're going to blame your pastor. Poor man, poor woman. The mogs and the wogs, the men of God and the women of God. You're going to blame all of them. But the reality of it is, you're just finding justification for your own feelings. And so you give yourself permission to remain angry and resentful. Well, let me tell you what that will do. You will basically self-sabotage your own happiness. So let go. Fight the feelings. Number 3, fight the feelings of anger and resentment. Take charge of your own emotions. And number 4, speak the language of love. It's Valentine's, and it's a reminder of our love life. Even if during the other days you do it, it's fine. But lots of people tend to forget about this, and they take it for granted. And like it is being said, familiarity breeds contempt. And one of the sad things is that your family members become familiar, or your wife and your husband, familiar ground. And what you do is basically you start to treat them with contempt. And how do you treat them with contempt? By forgetting the simple etiquettes and the rules of engagement when it comes to marriage and love.
Right.
And so I want to encourage you. You want to keep love alive. This is what you need to do. Speak the language of love. Thank you. You are beautiful. You are brilliant. I mean, some women cannot say that to their men, and some men can just not say it to their wives because they think that they're fools. They think they're idiots. And I've had a really very successful businessman, Malungi, said to me one day, he says, Roger, I am such a successful man. I own businesses, I own racehorses. I'm known all over the country, all over the world for that matter. I've traveled, and people have such respect for me. But I am the biggest idiot in my own home. And I don't know if you feel like that sometimes. And you know what? The trouble in your marriage may not necessarily be situational.
Right.
The trouble in your marriage might just be what is coming out of your mouth. And, the psalmist David said, put a guard at my mind, put a guard at my mouth. Put a guard, Lord. Why? Because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And you start to speak those things. In other words, before it can come out of your mouth, it had to be affirmed and solidified within the subconscious dimension of your mind. And when you did that, you convinced yourself that your partner is an idiot. You convinced yourself that your partner is a fool. All right? And I've seen some women look at this and say, look at this fool. Tell him to keep quiet. And some women, the minute they open their mouth, man, if you ever seen a man's eyes roll, it really, I mean, at one time I thought the guy's eyes are not going to return. He rolled it so far back. Why? Because simply familiarity breeds contempt, Malungi. So speak the language of love. When was the last time you looked him in the eye and said, I love you, baby. Thank you. You are really, really beautiful. I do this all the time, Malungi. And, the reason I do this is I know the challenges that my wife goes through in life. She's been a beautiful woman. She is a beautiful woman. But the reality of it is we all tend to grow older and certain insecurities start to come in. And even though she is such a secure woman in her own skin, from time to time, you can look in the mirror and you see that certain things are sagging and, as they say, the roof has collapsed and, the awnings have been shifted. But you need somebody who can make you feel good. And I do that all the time with my wife. And that's why, can I maybe give you a wonderful saying? You want to write this down. Beautiful souls never age.
Wow, that's so powerful.
They just get better with time. Right? Beautiful souls never age. They just get better with time. And you know what? If you learn to see the soul of a person, that's why the Bible says, know no man after the flesh. Why? Because flesh is going to fade, Malungi. And so a love language actually keeps the soul alive. And so thank you. You're beautiful. You are brilliant. I love you. You're so kind. Now, he's not going to say you're kind if you're not doing anything kind out there. You got to do something kind, guys. So, you're so kind. You are amazing. Stay a little longer. Sit here. You don't have to wash the dishes straight away. Or how about this? Why don't you relax? I'll wash the dishes for you. Okay? Ladies, you really need to pay me on that one. Number 5. Hugs and kisses. Hugs and kisses. Okay, can I expose myself a little bit here?
Right.
Malungi, I'm a hugger and a kisser.
Right.
And I know Rebecca is not that type of person.
Right.
She's not a hugger and a kisser.
Right.
I mean, with me, yes, absolutely so.
Yeah.
Why? Because I refused for her to remain like that. Because if you don't use it, you lose it. And I ensure that I keep that alive. I had enough hugs and kisses for both of us.
Right.
And so, what hugs and kisses do, they release oxytocin, Malungi. And oxytocin is part of the amygdala in the brain, or it's a function that the amygdala performs. And it's oxytocin, as we've spoken of numerous times before, is the love hormone, the hug chemical. And, it is what is released to make you feel good.
Right.
So it being the chemical, the hormone that starts to get you excited and feeling happy and good inside, I think that it is vitally important that we keep those chemicals flowing. And also, oxytocin comes from the same place where your emotional responses are, and also your memory center. All right. So what happens then, Malungi? You find that if you're constantly running your partner down and you're constantly calling them bad things and you're hurting their feelings all of the time, their memory has recorded that, and therefore oxytocin gets shut down. And because oxytocin gets shut down, they're not going to respond favorably in an emotional manner to you. And so you must understand then, you want to change that. And the way to start changing and to get the oxytocin to flow, start by what you say, what you speak, number one. And number two, hugs and kisses. It is so important. Maluvia, I don't think we can do all of those numbers that we said, even if I were to give 15. But I think we started something off for the the program itself. So we'll come back next week and we will do more. All right.
On Valentine's Day, we'll finish it off.
Oh, well, there's an offer. I think that's going to be great. So Valentine's Day, would you tell your partners that we're coming back with a love special?
Just make sure you tune into 101.5 FM so your partner.
Okay, we might just avoid a fight in some restaurant.